President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. reaffirming the importance of the Philippines-U.S. alliance in maintaining peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, in his meeting with U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Marcos thanked Washington for its continuing support for the modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines. Hegseth, on the other hand, reiterated that the Asia-Pacific remains a U.S. priority.
Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is set for a high-stakes meeting with former U.S. President Donald Trump. As looming U.S. tariffs threaten billions in trade, will this showdown ease tensions or spark a new economic battle? Stay tuned as we break down the explosive details. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is set to meet with United States President Donald Trump this week in a critical diplomatic engagement aimed at securing a more favorable trade agreement between the two nations. As Washington's key Asian ally, the Philippines hopes to leverage its strategic partnership to avoid steep tariffs set to take effect next month. Marcos will be the first Southeast Asian leader to meet Trump during his second term, underscoring the importance of the discussions at a time when the U.S. is tightening trade terms even with close allies in its broader competition with China. Before departing Manila for Washington, Marcos emphasized that his talks with Trump would center on both security cooperation and trade relations. The Philippine leader expressed cautious optimism about reaching a deal before August 1st, when the U.S. plans to impose a 20% tariff on Philippine goods, a significant increase from the 17% initially proposed in April.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of the Philippines, a great family legacy, and highly respected in this country. I know that because I have many friends in the Philippines, and there's great respect, or I couldn't say it, so congratulations. We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about war and peace. They're a very important nation militarily, and we've had some great drills lately. We're back with them. I think I can say that the last administration was not getting along with them too well. They didn't get along with anybody. They didn't know. Honestly, they didn't know what they were doing. But we have some fantastic military relationships with the Philippines, and that's been reinstituted. And Pete, I would say that you couldn't be happier, right, with the relationship.
Absolutely. Great partners.
So I just.
We will see how much progress we can make in negotiations to address the severe tariff measures affecting our exports, Marcos stated. The stakes are high as the U.S. recorded a nearly $5 billion trade deficit with the Philippines last year, with bilateral goods trade totaling $23.5 billion. Trump has taken a firm stance on trade, recently securing agreements with Vietnam and Indonesia, while pushing for stricter terms to protect American industries. His administration's approach has left even long-standing allies navigating tough negotiations to maintain economic ties. For the Philippines, a favorable outcome is crucial to mitigating the impact of the impending tariffs, which could disrupt key export sectors. As Marcos engages in these high-level talks, the outcome will not only shape U.S.-Philippine trade relations, but also signal how Washington balances economic demands with its strategic partnerships in the Indo-Pacific region. The meeting comes amid growing geopolitical tensions, with the U.S. seeking to strengthen alliances to counterbalance China's influence. For Marcos, the challenge lies in securing economic concessions without compromising Manila's independent foreign policy. Observers will be watching closely to see whether the discussions yield a breakthrough or further strain trade relations between the two nations. With the deadline looming, the pressure is on for both leaders to find common ground, a task that could define their economic partnership for years to come.
Yes. Well, there were certain markets they were asked to be open at present that were presently and right now are not open. One of the major areas that they said were automobiles, because we held a tariff on American automobiles. We will open that market and no longer charge tariffs on that. So there's several, but also the other side of that is an increased importation from the United States. For soy products, wheat products, and pharma, actually, medicines, para makaulo naman yung mga maging mas mura yung gamot natin.
As Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. engages in high-stakes discussions with U.S. leaders this week, trade negotiations take center stage, with experts suggesting Manila could secure a more favorable deal than some of its Asian counterparts. While key U.S. allies like Japan and South Korea have yet to reach trade agreements with the Trump administration, analysts believe the Philippines may achieve better terms than Vietnam, which agreed to a 20% baseline tariff on its exports, or Indonesia, which settled at 19%. Gregory Poling, a Southeast Asia specialist at Washington's Center for Strategic and International Studies, noted that an announcement with the Philippines at a lower rate would not be surprising, signaling potential progress in bilateral economic talks. Marcos's visit underscores Manila's push for stronger economic ties with Washington amid growing concerns over trade barriers. After meeting with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon on Monday, the Philippine leader is set to hold discussions with Secretary of State Marco Rubio before a crucial White House meeting with former President Donald Trump on Tuesday. The talks come at a pivotal moment as the Philippines seeks to balance its economic interests with its strategic role as a U.S. partner in the Asia-Pacific region. Beyond political dialogue, Marcos will also engage with American business leaders investing in the Philippines, highlighting opportunities for deeper economic collaboration. Philippine officials emphasize that the president's agenda prioritizes trade cooperation, particularly addressing Manila's unease over U.S.-imposed tariffs. A stronger Philippine economy, they argue, is essential for the nation to serve as a reliable and capable ally in a region increasingly shaped by geopolitical tensions. Behind the scenes, trade officials from both nations have been working to finalize an agreement that benefits both sides. Philippine Assistant Foreign Secretary Raquel Solano recently confirmed ongoing efforts to craft a deal that is mutually acceptable and mutually beneficial, reflecting Manila's determination to secure terms that bolster its economic resilience. As discussions unfold, the outcome could set a precedent for how the U.S. approaches trade with its Asian partners in the years ahead. As former U.S. President Donald Trump prepares to meet with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., discussions are expected to focus heavily on reinforcing the decades-old defense partnership between the two nations. According to analysts, Marcos will likely seek to solidify the long-standing Mutual Defense Treaty, a key pillar of U.S.-Philippine relations for over 70 years. Philippine Ambassador to Washington, Jose Manuel Romualdez, emphasized that the meeting would serve as a reaffirmation of this critical alliance, with talks centered on deepening cooperation between the two allies. The Philippines, facing increasing pressure from China in the disputed South China Sea, has moved decisively to strengthen ties with the United States. Under Marcos's leadership, Manila has expanded U.S. access to its military bases, a strategic shift driven by China's aggressive posturing, particularly toward Taiwan, which Beijing claims as part of its territory. This realignment has not gone unnoticed, with China reacting sharply to the growing military collaboration between Washington and Manila. The U.S. and the Philippines conduct numerous joint military exercises each year, some of which have included advanced weapon systems such as the Typhoon missile system and the NMASIS anti-ship missile system. These drills have drawn strong objections from Beijing, further escalating regional tensions. Experts note that the Philippines and the U.S. now share closely aligned perspectives on China, a development underscored by recent high-level meetings between Philippine officials and key U.S. figures like Senators Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth. Adding to the significance of the upcoming talks, analysts point to a notable rapport between Trump and Marcos highlighted by their post-election phone conversation. This personal connection could play a role in shaping the tone and outcomes of their discussions. With security challenges mounting in the Indo-Pacific, the meeting between the two leaders is poised to have far-reaching implications for regional stability and the balance of power in one of the world's most contested waterways. As the situation evolves, observers will be watching closely to see how this strengthened alliance influences the geopolitical landscape, particularly in countering China's expanding influence. The stakes are high, and the decisions made in these talks could redefine security dynamics in the region for years to come. Will Marcos and Trump strike a deal, or are tougher tariffs on the horizon? Let us know in the comments what you think of the whole situation, and if you want to stay on top of this, smash that like and subscribe button.